Dear friends, welcome once again. In our previous discussion, we examined how dissatisfaction arises from the conflict between our expectations and the outcomes that we anticipate. Today, we will continue that discussion by looking more closely at the emotions that arise from this conflict and by exploring a practical method for reducing their influence on our lives. Let us begin by considering fear. Fear generally arises before we face a task because we are uncertain whether our expectations will be fulfilled. In contrast, emotions such as sorrow, anger, and disgust usually arise after we have faced the situation and the outcome has failed to meet our expectations. These emotions can generally be grouped into four broad categories: fear, sorrow, disgust, and anger. We experience them almost every day. Sometimes they are mild and disappear quickly. At other times, they become persistent and continue long after the original situation has passed. Each of these broad categories contains several subcategories with only minor differences. For example, an intense fear without any rational basis, together with the avoidance of a particular situation or object, is known as a phobia. A phobia is simply a subcategory of fear. Similarly, anger directed inward, together with self-blame, can contribute to depression, and in severe cases, even self-harm. Hatred can also be regarded as a form of anger. The real danger comes from the thought processes that strengthen and sustain these emotions. Even a mild emotional reaction can influence the body by increasing blood pressure, altering facial expressions, and affecting many other physical functions. Now let us consider how these emotional reactions can be reduced. Although internal conflicts can produce numerous effects on both the body and the mind, they can often be reduced or even eliminated by addressing one simple condition. As we have discussed, dissatisfaction arises when there is a conflict between our expectations and the outcome that we anticipate. If we can remove this internal conflict, dissatisfaction will no longer arise. Therefore, the solution lies in modifying either the expectation itself or our prediction about the outcome. Even if a person feels that their expectations cannot easily be changed, they may still be able to adopt alternative ways of modifying their predictions. Western psychologists have also recognized that human expectations exist at different levels. Abraham Maslow and several other scholars classified human expectations into broader categories, identifying a hierarchy based on their relative importance. Using this concept, a hierarchy of expectation levels has been prepared. According to the philosophy taught by our great teacher, expectations can also be classified into 7 main categories. Before attempting to find a solution, it is important to identify the particular category of expectation that has given rise to dissatisfaction. Since finer levels of expectation are often hidden when more basic expectations dominate, this classification also follows a hierarchical order. Let us now look briefly at these 7 levels of expectation. First, material ownership. The most basic level of expectation is based on the ownership of material possessions. Since money and wealth are the primary measures at this level, it includes every form of material wealth. Second, sensory entertainment. This is the expectation of experiencing pleasant sensations through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or body. It is important to distinguish between owning an object and enjoying the sensory experience it provides. For example, possessing delicious food is quite different from the pleasure of actually tasting it. Just as owning a bottle of perfume is different from experiencing its fragrance. Third, social recognition. This level involved the expectation of receiving social approval through praise, recognition, respect, status, or fame. The satisfaction gained here is primarily a pleasant mental feeling. Fourth, intellectual stimulation. This level refers to the satisfaction derived from learning, satisfying curiosity, analyzing, synthesizing, solving problems, and expanding knowledge. Fifth, holistic appreciation. This level relates to relaxation and the enjoyment that comes from appreciating an object as a complete whole without analyzing its individual parts or examining its relationship with other objects. It is similar to seeing the big picture or obtaining a helicopter view. Unlike the second category, which involves identifying and categorizing what we experience, this higher level does not analyze or label the object. Words are no longer needed to describe what is being experienced. For example, when you enjoy the beauty of a forest, your attention is not focused on the individual trees. Sixth, experiential action. This level involves the satisfaction obtained through simple mental or physical activities. Here, satisfaction comes from the activity itself rather than from its outcome. Focusing attention on the result, even if the result is pleasant, becomes a distraction from the experience itself. Finally, self-expansion. This is the expectation of satisfaction gained through self-expansion or through identifying with something beyond oneself. At this level, no obvious external action is required. It is important to remember that dissatisfaction may arise from one category of expectation, from several categories at the same time, or even from all of them simultaneously. In the higher and subtler levels, the exact nature of the expectation may not always be immediately obvious. As an example, you may become upset when you hear that a member of your social group, whether that group is defined by family, ethnicity, religion, profession, nationality, or some other characteristic, has violated the accepted standards of that group, even though you have never met that individual personally. Because you identify that group as part of your extended sense of self, any threat to its reputation may feel like a threat to you personally. This perceived conflict between your expectation and reality can produce a powerful emotional reaction. In our next discussion, we will examine how understanding these different levels of expectation can help us respond to life's challenges with greater wisdom, less stress, and a more peaceful mind. Thank you very much for listening.